So, hi, I'm Colm, and I'm here with Gary Skills, kind of to understand what Trump's tariffs will mean specifically for the pharmaceutical industry. I'm here in Carrigaline, one of the towns that was set up because of the thriving pharmaceutical industry around Cork Harbour, and I'm talking to Jerry Creener, who's over 40 years experience in the pharmaceutical industry, and asking him some key questions that aren't necessarily being answered for me right now. So, Jerry, one of the big questions that's being asked right now throughout all of media is tariffs, specifically Trump's tariffs, and what these mean for people's jobs and livelihoods and everything. Now, as I said before, we're in Carrigaline, one of the towns that popped up because of the pharma industry in Ireland. So, with your 40 years of experience, what do these tariffs mean for this industry and this community of people?
Thanks, Colm. Yeah, there is an amount of confusion currently as to what the tariffs will mean, because there's fear about people working in the industry as to whether or not they'll have a job and how long for. And the key message that needs to go back to your audience is that Trump's tariffs won't have an effect on pharma jobs in Ireland, pharma manufacturing jobs in Ireland for the next 10 years, long after his presidency is over.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because pharmaceuticals are tied to regulations. The key thing in pharmaceuticals is to make safe and effective medicines for patients. And this is what the FDA does. And this is all their rules and regulations. And those are all well documented in the US Codes of Federal Regulations. And CFR 21 basically says what's needed to manufacture safe medicines for patients, and in particular US citizens. That is what they have to look after. So there is a process defined as to how pharma manufacturing can be moved from one location to another. Or in terms of the way the media has been talking about doing it, it's just been by you can lift and shift pharma manufacturing virtually overnight from Ireland to the US. And that just simply is not the case.
Really? So I know you said there was a 10-year timescale, but why is there such a long timescale? I mean, if you look at any other industry, whether it's car manufacturing or tech or anything like that, that's a long supply chain, but it's able to be moved quickly enough. Why is it a 10-year process for pharma?
Reason for that is that when the FDA approve a medicine, they don't just approve it to a company, they approve it to a manufacturing site. So they don't just say Pfizer can make Viagra or Merck can make statins or whatever. What they say is Merck can make statins at this plant in this location, because that is what we have tested and approved to be able to consistently manufacture safe medicines. And in order to find a new plant, there is kind of a 5-stage process that you need to go through.
Okay.
And kind of the first step of that is find where you want to put it in the States.
Okay.
So you find a site, you get that location, you get planning permission to build what you want to build, because there's all the local and state and federal regulations associated with planning. And of course, you have to go along and get the money to do this, because it'll take kind of $500 million to build a manufacturing plant in this day and age. So once you get the site, the approvals to build the manufacturing plant, and the funds approved by the board of the pharma company, that kind of takes 1 to 2 years. And that's just your first step. There's 4 more to go.
Okay, so step 1 is the general construction of the site. What are the next steps after that?
It's more the identification of the site than the construction.
Oh, it's not even the construction.
Not even the construction, because then you get into, once you get your money, then you can design and build. And to design and build a manufacturing plant, the complexity of manufacturing medicines, takes kind of 2 to 3 years, because you have to buy specialist equipment that's on a long delivery time scale that takes sort of 12, could be 18 months to deliver. And you have to put it all, fit it all in, test it so as to make sure that it works. Okay? And that's, what do you call it? And that process takes 2 to 3 years.
So, first 2 steps of the entire process, you're talking about 5 years currently.
It's kind of 3 to 5, yeah, absolutely. But after that, you get into the really business, the tough things to do, because whilst you're 90% there, as much time now goes into the last 10%. And you can see a built and constructed pharmaceutical plant, but then it has to be, what do you call it, what's termed in step 3, is it has to go through process validation and technology transfer.
Okay.
And the technology transfer means you're moving the know-how of how to make this medicine from one location to another.
Okay.
And
but isn't that just as simple as moving all the workers from one place to another?
And you can't move the workers from Ireland to the US. So there's going to be a new set of workers. There's going to be a new set of sort of training of them. But more so, all the nuances and the tacit knowledge that has been built up over the years in Ireland will have to be transferred to the US manufacturing plant, so as that they can also manufacture the medicine in exactly the same way to get exactly the same tablet out the far end that the patients can take seamlessly. Because medicines are not like wine. You can't have good years and not so good years. They all have to be exactly the same. And those are the rules of the FDA. And they're good rules. But the key thing is they're the rules. And that takes time to do. So it takes probably another 1 to 2 years to do this technology transfer. Okay? And during the technology transfer, then you start manufacturing your initial lots of product. Because these initial lots of product are that you have to be able to show that you can consistently manufacture a set number of batches. What do you call it? So as the product out the far side are consistent and that there's no glitches or whatever. And that kind of takes sort of another sort of year or two, probably a year to do that, and then you'll put them on stability testing so as to make sure they don't degrade over time. And during that time, you bring in the FDA.
Okay, so they only come in at the end?
Well, they're there all the time, but they really get active for this 4th step, tech transfer. And when the tech transfer, that you're able to show them that, look, we've manufactured 3 or 4 batches, they're all consistent, here's the data, here's what we've done, what do you call it? And they'll say, oh, that's very good, and have you done this? And you'll say, oh, we haven't thought of that, and they'll say, please change that, and there'll be various toing and froing with the FDA, so as to do the final polishing on the process. And when you've that done, what do you call it? They will then go along and say, okay, you can now sell these medicines to the public. But that's like, now we're 7 years in.
Yeah, 7, 8 years in, 2 presidencies from now.
Absolutely. And in addition, during all this time, all the patients who are taking these medicines will still need to go along and be taking the same medicines as regards it. So therefore, where are those medicines going to be coming from? Those medicines are going to be coming from Ireland. So these Irish manufacturing jobs are still good for the next 7 years. So why did I say 10? The reason is you don't start the new manufacturing plant at 100% capacity on day one. You have to scale it up to that.
And scaling up, it takes 3 years?
Kind of, you get to 25% capacity of Ireland after year 1, 50% after year 2, and 100% after year 3. And during that time, Ireland would scale down from 100 to 50 to 25 and so forth.
Right.
And that is how the transfer would take. It means that all the jobs here, yeah, they're going to be safe for 10 years, the next 10 years. Now, that is because of that process. There's going to be lots of other things happening in 10 years. Because when we look back at the last 10 years where we came through from 2015 to 2025, we had various presidencies in the US, COVID globally, we had loads of things happening. So what's going to happen? There's new medicines come out. During COVID, complete new strain of medicines were thought up. There will be new medicines in the next 10 years. Where are those medicines going to be put? We're not going to know where they're going to be put. But the reality is, the plants that are built to take the Irish medicines in the States won't have been designed for them. And now they're going to have to supply all of those patients. Okay, so what's going to happen to Ireland in 10 years' time? Probably the new products
won't be going to Ireland necessarily.
Well, where are they going to be built? The US has two choices then. They could either transfer the same product back to Ireland because they're approved to manufacture for the FDA, in which case there'll still be jobs here, and then take the new jobs, the new products into the States, into the new plants that we've built, or they could give them to Ireland and take the, have that process that Ireland initially does them for the first 10 years, and then the States takes them over, and that's the whole process. But that's what's needed to consistently manufacture safe medicines. And whilst tariffs, yes, tariffs will be real. Their impact on jobs in Ireland,
for pharma specifically,
for pharma, won't be happening for 10 years, even if they do it.
Okay, very interesting.
It's an interesting topic.
It is. Thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.